Welcome to Tannic Grips.
Welcome to Tannic Grips. I'm Britt Tracy.
Jill Mott.
Yes, amazing. We are here today, brought on by inspiration, I think, to begin, let's just say from the grape Sauvignon Blanc.
Per usual, like a few days before we do this, I'm like, Britt,
what do we do?
What should we do? And Britt, 9 out of 10 times, is like, what if we did this? And I'm like, yeah, why didn't I think of that?
And that one time out of 10, we do something else.
We taste tea out of wine glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Or cornflakes.
Brought on by the Sauvignon Blanc grape, a lot of us are familiar with. So I have a thing. I will drink a cheap Sauvignon Blanc in the dive bar over a cheap Chardonnay almost any day of the week. But I will almost always take, like, a better, like, you know, whatever that word means, just like, you know, a higher caliber Chardonnay over a higher caliber, like, Sauvignon Blanc almost any day of the week.
I love that I don't know this about you.
Yeah, I don't know. And,
right.
So I've thought about, like, I think about this grape a lot in terms of, like, I can kind of, like, blow it off a lot. So it's not one that I often reach for whatever the reason. There's, like, I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody who, like, loves Sauvignon Blanc. I think it's amazing. I think it's, like, I've had amazing Sauvignon Blanc. I've had mediocre. You know, I've enjoyed it at all its levels. So I thought it would be kind of fun today. I was like, well, let's feature it in kind of all of its different ways. So we are featuring 2 Sauvignon Blancs done kind of off the cuff in very different ways. One will be a sparkling and one is an orange wine from Greece. And then throwing it into
let's just stop there. And the show is Tannic Grips is done for the day.
Yeah.
Orange wine from Greece from Sauvignon Blanc.
It's so good. And then we've got a really weird little red wine from Sancerre in the Loire, where usually you would get a Sauvignon Blanc. So, you know, not without our twists today. In fact, 3 twists. So.
Yes, because it's very Tannic Grips of us to say, let's do Loire Valley inspired wines and then do orange Sancerre orange Sauvignon Blanc
from Greece. And then like and sparkling red. And so.
Here we go.
We're about to have some good time.
And you said you wanted to start, when I was like, bubbles or red first, you were like, red.
Yeah.
Which I think that's great, because I love to. Oops, I was really wanting that to go like.
Oh, that was still cool though. Like,
thanks. It took 2 times. It's fun to start with red and go back to sparkling. This is from a producer their family dates back to the 1600s. They think they can get it back that far. Domaine Hippolyte Reverdy. And like Britt said, when you see Sancerre on the label and you can't see through the bottle, hence it's red, it's Pinot Noir. Little known fact.
I was talking with the owner of the shop today, one of the owners, Gretchen, and she's like, there's just very few, but you can, and I hadn't been aware until I was actually introduced to this wine that you could actually label, like you could say it was a red Sancerre. There's a bunch of interesting like AOC, like it's just kind of like labeling laws essentially and like appellation laws. It's way more complicated than that, but you don't get to see it that much, so it really does have to be a certain level, and they do have to go through a certain amount of rigmarole. That doesn't necessarily make it good or bad. It is strange to see it actually labeled as a Sancerre. Well, right now we have a Pinot Noir coming out of the Sancerre appellation of the Loire.
And this guy, Michel, so he's had a pretty sad history if you read about his past with his family, his father and his brothers. But what is cool about his story is he really is dedicated to being a true paysan, as they call it in French, like a peasant. And he wants to make world-class wines, but he wants to live on the land. He wants to live and work vineyards until he dies. He doesn't, or until he can't anymore physically. So he's really dedicated to the fruit that they're working with, all sustainably grown. In this case, he ages it in 400-liter French oak, so slightly bigger barrels, and then bottles it unfiltered, which when you do find red Sancerre, which is rare in and of itself, it's usually filtered. And it smells kind of like it's tickling the rib cage of, or wherever you're ticklish, of like a Willamette Valley Pinot. Like it's got ripe fruit, and I wasn't expecting that because so often Pinot Noirs from this neck of the woods are like leaner, really cool, climatey, kind of a lot more smelling like they're going to be really acidic. You know what I mean? It kind of smells ripe.
It does.
What do you think about the flavor?
Actually, I really like it. not like I'm surprised, but it reminds me just a bit, just for a comparison of another Pinot Noir. It definitely has a little bit more ripeness and juiciness to me than I'm familiar with the regions I'm going to compare it to. Alsace and German Pinot Noir.
Yeah, it does.
Just like the tone. And when I say tone, I mean like acidity and just like brightness. Like it's just the pitch of it is higher, and that's always something that I find really consistent in Alsatian and like Spätburgunder from Germany, which is the German. It's the I know kindergarten and I know Spätburgunder.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. The Square thinks so too. You're like, it's bright and it's this and it's like
it
bling,
was like
bling.
bling. Like that was our POS system in the background that you may or may not hear in this video.
What Tannic Grip do you think it's got on the 1 to 7 Tannic Grip scale?
So it actually has a fairly present one, right?
It is kind of stemmy for it being destemmed fruit.
I'd say like a 3.5.
Yeah. Like
it's just kind of surprising because it's also relatively light on its feet, but how it coats my entire mouth, I'd say that it's got a 3.5. Like
it's pretty slick too, which is cool. So like slick. Should we go to the second wine? Because we might not go away from this one.
Drink. It's super. This is very compelling wine with a lot of savory notes and really present, beautiful cherry fruit. So
beautiful. This next wine is a gem in the natural wine world, and it's very affordable when you have like mid-$20 range natural wine. It's a joy. This is from the Drama region of Italy, or excuse me, of Greece. So we're like between Macedonia and Thrace, for those of you that just know your Greek geography, and we're very close to both the ocean and Bulgaria up north. And what's cool about this producer, they're called Enogenesis, is they are working with Sauvignon Blanc that's not irrigated, which that's pretty rare. And
is it rare for the region?
And especially Sauvignon Blanc is like weird because normally Sauvignon Blanc is like a newer grape to Greece by a few decades, so then they would irrigate it as opposed to if it was ancient Xinomavro grapes or something like that. There's a chance that they could be not irrigated.
And irrigation is a big thing when people talk about dry wines. It means and it's also an environmental concern,
like dry farmed.
Yeah.
Dry farmed.
Yeah. We'll point not non-alcoholic. We will point you to something like within the video, like a link. It'll be like right here. And but about dry wine, so like irrigation is a really interesting topic, specifically in wine. So that is kind of cool to know.
Spends about 2 days on the skins to give it this beautiful color, and then it's bottled with very little sulfur. It hasn't been fined nor filtered, and what is really special about it is it's actually gone through that malolactic conversion where you have that green apple malic acid that turns into like a little bit of a creamier lactic acid. And so the wine it's just extremely complex for the money. And you get like these kind of bruised grape notes, and you get a little bit of that citrus, but that's very much so in the background. It's not in the foreground. How are we doing on time? 3 minutes. Oh, sweet. It's not in the foreground like it is with a lot of Sauvignon Blanc, and it's got like a little bit of a round mid-palate, but very fresh, extremely fresh, a lot of acidity. Great with just myriad foods like roasted chicken and pastas that have a little bit of a lighter olive oil sauce, and a joy to drink if you like Sauvignon Blanc and want to get out of your comfort zone.
And if you've never had an orange wine, like sometimes I think like it's a really comfortable wine to like go into. And
whoa,
yeah, it's super fun.
I thought it was maybe gonna explode.
In the glass, we're doing a sparkling Sauvignon Blanc stateside by Watkins.
Chris Christensen, he started the project in 2011, I believe, and a couple years later, his buddy he's a Midwesterner, by the way, it's from Iowa, a buddy of his by the name of Andrew Chambers from Oregon joined forces a couple years later, and they're making great wine, they're selling great wine, really easy to drink. Their goal is to like make wine for the people for every occasion. If you're getting married or you're just having a Netflix night kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. We actually carried this here in the shop in like their smaller, like 375s, which is just an absolute blast.
Whoa. Why isn't this everyone's wedding wine? It's so good and pleases everyone and is so inexpensive. This is one thing I wanted to mention. It's made like Prosecco. So if you like Prosecco and you like Sauvignon Blanc, this would be a really fun way to go. And it was the country's first ever sparkling Sauvignon Blanc, which is how they got their start.
I knew that actually, and I am just yelling that I knew that. And so I knew that.
You know what I have to say to that? I knew that. To Tannic Grips, to some citrus.
You say, yeah, but I knew that.
I so knew that.